Okay, this is Megan Hubbard, and this is my audience for my third speech, which is Persuasive, and I'll be talking about the American death penalty. By the end of my speech, my audience will be persuaded to rethink their stand on the death penalty in the United States, the American death penalty. So what if I told you that the death penalty is not the most effective way to punish convicted murderers? Today, I will try to persuade you all to rethink your thoughts and feelings about the death penalty. Ever since I was a kid, I've seen people dying by the death penalty. For many years, I thought that justice was served and that the person that was receiving the death penalty had gotten what they deserved. Once I started doing research in my early 20s, I learned that this was not true. First, I'll talk about the cost to taxpayers to execute a criminal. Second, I'll talk about alternate options to truly punish a criminal. And lastly, I'll explain how many people have been put to death by the state of their residence and were later found to be innocent. So now let me first start off by outlining the costs that we as taxpayers must bear the burden of. According to John Roman, PhD, Senior Fellow at the Urban Institute and Executive Director of the District of Columbia Policy Institute, 14 studies have estimated the cost of capital punishment, including one study of the federal death penalty and a 13 state or county level studies. Each study concludes that the presence of capital punishment results in additional cost. However, there is substantial variation in the cost estimates. Among the 5 studies that compare the cost of the death sentence with the cost of capital eligible case in which no death notice is filed, the average additional cost per case is $650,000. But the estimates range from about $100,000 to more than $1.7 million. These same studies show that after the death notice is given, the costs rise to over $500,000 during the trial phase alone, and another $150,000 during the penalty phase. On average, the death notice during a murder trial adds over $1 million. That $1 million tab falls on the taxpayer. In Texas, a death penalty case costs an average of $2.3 million, about 3 times the cost of imprisoning someone in a single cell at the highest security level for 40 years. Numerous studies have shown that implementing the death penalty is far more costly than sentencing someone to a life sentence without the possibility of parole. The cost of housing inmates without the possibility of parole could be lowered by sentencing these inmates to prisons that are self-sustaining. This has been proven by Parchman State Prison in Mississippi. The prison was constructed almost in its entirety by prisoners alone. The prisoner is known as Parchman Prison Farm. The large majority of the food that the inmates consume is in fact grown by prisoners. In the past, inmates were made to stamp license plates. The advancement of technology has made this no longer needed. Have you ever asked yourself, what if these inmates were made to work to pay back their trial process? This would keep those that were convicted correctly of indulging in the pricey appeals process just to buy time. In 2012, the murder rate in states with the death penalty was 4.7%, while the average murder rates in states without the death penalty was 3.7%. So I just talked about the cost of housing death row inmates and funding their appeals process. Now I'll dive deeper into other punishment options and the mentality of the inmates. The solution is a lifetime of hard work in a self-sustaining prison. This is far much more scarier than the thought of simply being put to sleep. There are many men and women that are put to death that are just shy of being deemed criminally insane. The guidelines that are used to sentence these men and women are not written in stone. If you really want to put the fear of God in someone that is about to commit a heinous crime, let them know that they'll be working on a chain gang in 100+ degree temperatures all day long. If they are mentally capable of understanding the consequences, they will contemplate this punishment. Only in 2002 did the United States court deem the practice of putting someone with a mental disability to death unconstitutional. In fact, with the closing of so many mental hospitals due to abusive practices, the criminally insane have now fallen on the prison system. The men and women that operate prisons on a daily basis are not trained nor prepared to deal with these inmates. Correctional officers are untrained and placed in harm's way every day. There are plenty of other options to help these inmates be placed in a better environment that primarily keeps them away from untrained people that they can't harm. So I just talked about the options of housing and punishing those convicted of capital murder. Now lastly, let me talk to you about those that have been exonerated and wrongly put to death by their state of residence. Since 1973, 153 people have been exonerated from death row. That is 173 people that could have been wrongly put to death. I don't know about you, but I certainly don't want their blood on my hands. False testimony is the #1 cause of death row convictions in the United States alone. The movie, My Cousin Vinny, will give you a classic example. I implore you to look into the case of Ronald Cotton to see the effects of false memory. The woman that he was accused of raping could swear that it was him that raped her. Later in life, he was exonerated and found not innocent. They went on to become good friends and toured the U.S., spreading the importance of proper exploration and sentencing. Reuben Cantu, as pictured, was convicted of capital murder in 1985 and executed in 1993. He was only 17 years old when he was charged with this crime. Juan Moreno was the prosecution's key witness. He later admitted to being pressured into identifying Reuben as the killer. He admittedly told the police 2 times that Reuben Cantu was not the killer. He was shown Reuben's photo numerous times and pressured into identifying him as the killer. David Garza, Cantu's co-defendant, admittedly signed a sworn affidavit that Cantu wasn't even present during the shooting. Garza stated, "Part of me died when he died." You've got a 17-year-old who went to his grave for something that he did not do. Texas murdered an innocent person. Imagine yourself in this situation. Imagine if it was your child in this situation and that you were crippled with a time frame to prove his or her innocence. Limited resources and limited funds to pay attorneys. Since 1976, 543 people have been executed in the state of Texas. 13 people have been proven innocent and freed from death row. That makes 13 people that could have been wrongly put to death. Eliminating the death penalty would eliminate the chance that any man or woman could be wrongly executed. In other words, yes, there will be people that commit heinous crimes that would avoid the death penalty. But there will be people that are wrongly convicted that will not be put to death. So now let me conclude. First, I explained the cost to taxpayers. Second, I offered some alternate forms of punishment. And lastly, I explained some of the heinous executions that have been carried out by the state when the person convicted was in fact innocent. I very much encourage you to rethink your opinion on the death penalty and consider other options for punishment. So next time you're considering the death penalty as a proper form of punishment, put yourself in the convicted person's shoes. Put your child in that person's shoes. Think of the better punishment options. Think of the costs that fall on the taxpayers' shoulders. Thank you.